Once upon a time, in a small, forgotten village nestled between dark, ancient forests, there stood an old graveyard. This graveyard was shrouded in mist and mystery, known to the villagers as a place where the living dared not tread after dusk. Tales of the graveyard's haunted nature had been passed down through generations, each story more chilling than the last. The graveyard was said to be the resting place of restless spirits. These ghosts, as the stories went, were souls who had met untimely and tragic ends. Their lives had been cut short by misfortune, betrayal, and sorrow, leaving them bound to the earthly realm. They wandered among the tombstones, their ethereal forms flickering like candle flames in the night. One such spirit was that of Eleanor, a young woman who had perished in a tragic accident on her wedding day. Heartbroken and unable to move on, her ghost would appear in her wedding dress, weeping softly as she roamed the graveyard, searching for her lost love. Her presence was marked by the scent of roses and the sound of distant, mournful music. Another ghost was that of Thomas, a soldier who had died in battle. His spirit, clad in tattered military garb, would march solemnly through the graveyard, reliving his final moments. Villagers claimed to hear the rhythmic beat of a drum echoing in the distance whenever Thomas was near. Then there was the story of old man Jasper, a gravedigger who had spent his entire life tending to the graveyard. In death, he continued his work, his ghostly figure seen digging graves and caring for the resting places of the departed. It was said that Jasper would appear to those who disrespected the graveyard, his stern gaze warning them to leave the dead in peace. One foggy evening, a group of curious children, drawn by the spine-tingling tales, decided to venture into the graveyard. Armed with flashlights and courage, they stepped cautiously among the tombstones, their breath visible in the chilly air. As they explored, they felt an eerie presence, and the temperature seemed to drop. Suddenly, they heard soft sobbing. Turning, they saw the ghostly figure of Eleanor, her tear-streaked face illuminated by the moonlight. She reached out to them, her voice a whisper carried on the wind, "Have you seen my love?" The children, terrified yet sympathetic, shook their heads and quickly moved on. Next, they encountered Thomas, marching silently with his spectral drum. The children watched in awe as he disappeared into the mist, his form fading like a memory. They realized then that these ghosts were not malevolent but were trapped by their pasts, longing for closure. As they were about to leave, old man Jasper appeared before them, his translucent form holding a lantern that glowed with an otherworldly light. He spoke to them in a gravelly voice, "Respect the resting place of the departed. They seek only peace." The children nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of his words. The children left the graveyard, their hearts heavy with the stories of the restless spirits. They shared their experiences with the villagers, who listened with renewed respect for the old graveyard. From that day forward, the villagers tended to the graves with care, honoring the memories of those who had passed. And so, the ghosts of the graveyard continued their vigil, watched over by the living, who ensured their final resting place was a sanctuary of peace and respect. The tales of the haunted graveyard lived on, not as stories of fear, but as reminders of the love, sacrifice, and respect owed to the departed.